Sure. So I'm packing because I'm moving, and I found that case to my UE fits, so now I can record again. Well, I don't know if it seems to have the best input, but you guys probably can't hear me anyway, so it doesn't matter. But you definitely couldn't hear me if I didn't have headphones. Well, I have Beats, but those have terrible input too. And then I found my favorite hat. But I'm not gonna wear it for this because you don't need to see me hatted. Anyway, I'm moving to Lowell, and I'm pretty excited about it because Jack Kerouac was from Lowell, and I'm going to the Jack Kerouac Festival, and I might even do a, a open mic poetry thing if I can write a poem that's good enough. As I'll read some of my poetry, because well, one, I need to shoot up, so I should probably start getting that shit out. But I'll read some of my poetry. Also, just so you know, when I make these, they're very stream of consciousness. So sometimes, like, because of my tangents, I'll like stop a thought and not return to it, and then the the thought that I said made no sense because I was watching some of my videos and they made me giggle because sometimes what I say makes no sense whatsoever, but I promise you it makes sense in my head, which I think is all that matters. Also, I don't read any comments, but I make my parents read the comments for me, and they said that people said I need to clean my room. Well, guess what? I'm moving, so guess I don't have to clean my room anymore. Also, like, if you're mean to me, my mama's gonna come after you eventually because I'm too much of a scaredy cat to read my comments because people on the internet are mean because they hate themselves. Actually, people just hate ideas that aren't theirs, and it's easy to be mean on the internet for perspectives that scare you, to perspectives that scare you, because you're never going to interact with that person in your life, like face to face. So it's really ballsless to just be mean on the internet because you disagree with someone. Uh, I talked to a turf on Twitter, a new turf on Twitter the other day, and because I commented on Mr. Cheese's post. Mr. Cheese is what I call John Cleese, um, about how trans people shouldn't think anti-trans people hate them. They just have differing opinions. And then someone was like, "Yeah, atheists don't hate religious people. They just don't believe in God." And in my opinion, if religious people thought they were God, well, maybe they would take some offense to atheists saying that they don't exist. I think it's a little bit different. But anyway, trans bigots don't like the idea of transness, which is my identity, and you could say that my identity is not necessarily me. But I don't really want to get on about trans people, trans rights today, because that's not, like, that's always in the back of my mind, but it's not what I want to talk about today. Anyway, I talked to a TERF on Twitter, and they were very nice to me when they realized that I was a suicidal fuck who didn't talk to anyone. Because I was like, I want to be happy, and then I started to cry in real life, and I think they felt it, and they were like, "Oh, I have to be nice to this tranny." Um, but I had a wonderful conversation. Anyway, I'm reading Don Quixote by Miguel Cervantes right now, and I love Don Quixote. I wish I had. I'm also reading Neruda, but I have the poetry side by side in Spanish and English, and uh, I can speak a little bit of Spanish. Well, I understand a little bit of Spanish. So I really like the side by side. I wish I had it for Don Quixote. But anyway, I'm running around places saying, I am the errant knight Don Quixote of La Mancha. Because I really relate to Don Quixote. He basically reads a bunch of books and then goes mad and isn't like anyone else because he just wants to be what the books tell him, and I totally relate to that because that is what I do. I just read a bunch of books, and all these people say, "Oh my God, you're like Brahmin," and I'm like, "Oh." And then I read a bunch of books and physics books. Then they tell me a bunch of crazy shit, and I'm like, read Kurt Gödel. Read. Oh, I'm excited to read this. I haven't broken it open yet, but I'm really excited for this. Symbolic logic and game of the games of logic. I just want to read the game of logic really, but um, I'm really excited for it. I haven't gotten into it because I'm reading Don Quixote of La Mancha. I also went to reading of a person that translated Purgatorio, like from Dante's Divine Comedy, and she was dope. Her name's Mary Jo, and I haven't read any of her other poetry, but like just what she said, her words were amazing. She was like, yeah, language is really important, and what you do with language matters. And I started to read Purgatorio. I've only read like 3 cantos, but it's really good so far, and she uses classic rock references, which makes me happy. But anyway, back to Don Quixote. Those are the other books that I have in front of me right now. The rest of my books are packed away. See? Oh, this way. No books in there, but textbooks. They're all in a box that I will have to move in a week from now. Move into where Jack Kerouac's from, in his house with his parents. Just kidding. I don't think his parents are alive anymore. And I don't know where he used to live, but apparently you can go on a tour if you want to go. Anyway, Don Quixote of La Mancha. Right now, I just went where he battled with the windmills. But what really made me like Don Quixote was his books. So, so Don Quixote goes out on this quest, and he goes to get knighted at an inn that he thinks is a castle, and he's protecting his armor, and uh, his armor happens to be where the donkeys get water. So donkey herders or whatever come up to give their donkeys water, and Don Quixote thinks that they're coming for his armor, and he has to defend his armor for a night in order to get knighted, according to what he's read in the books. And so he's guarding his gear, right? And bashes him over the head. And then the innkeeper, who he thinks is in charge of the castle, comes out, and he also thinks the innkeeper's a knight. And he comes out and he's like, "Yo, why are you fucking up the merchants with the donkeys who are customers of this castle and my friends? Like, why are you fucking them up, bro?" And like at this point, he already knows Don Quixote's lost his mind, and he thinks there's no way he's going to get convicted of any crime because he'll just plead madness. So we're basically fucked, and we need to get him out of here. And Don Quixote goes mad, and he's pretty much like, "I'm gonna kill everyone in this inn except for who you tell me not to kill, Mr. Innkeeper," and he calls him like Castletarian or something, like leader. He thinks that he's in charge of a castle. So the innkeeper decides to knight him then and there, but the innkeeper also told him that he needs money and clean shirts for his journey because Don Quixote is an errant knight, and errant means looking for adventure. So he's an errant knight, and I just learned this. So if you don't know what errant is, now you know. Um, he's an errant knight looking for adventure. That is a. But Cervantes does that a lot, or his translator does that a lot. He'll say, "I'm an errant knight looking for adventure," which is. And does lots of that. Like the most recent chapter. And also, he kind of does what Friends does, where each chapter has like a. Of the time. Yeah, he said, in which the stupendous battle between the gallant Basque and valiant Manchegan is concluded and comes to an end. Like, he's repeating himself and being concluded and comes to an end. Which isn't, you don't need to say that. And I don't know. I just love Cervantes because he's making fun of people that write books like this while writing a book like this. Like he's making fun of himself and succeeding in what he's making fun of. It's very self-referential madness. I love it very much. Um, but anyway, this is crazy. I just got a buttload of bubbles again. These needles suck shit. I had to get needles that aren't my prescribed needles and are meant to drop insulin and not testosterone because they haven't had my needles. And the trans man that's a pharmacist was really sad because my needles, I've put it in order for needles a month ago now and they still haven't gotten them. And he felt really bad, but he gave me these needles, which is nice of him because I can at least shoot up. But I do it with lots of bubbles. I don't really care. What's the worst that can happen? You can die, Kurt. Mm, worst things can happen. But anyway, Don Quixote has just gotten his ass kicked by some windmills, and that's where I'm at. And I just wanted to say I'm Don Quixote of La Mancha, and if you have an issue with it, take it up with my trusty steed, Reconsante, which is Mac, my cat. Leader of adventures. Anyway, I'm gonna shoot up in a second. It's gonna be so much fun. Um, but yeah, I'm just chilling, packing. I'm watching Zorro too, but I'm not really paying any attention, so I don't know what's happening. But it's like an old Zorro. I watched the Billie Eilish movie because I got 6 months of free Apple Plus, so I watched it. She's really obsessed with Justin Bieber. I'm not really obsessed with anyone, I just get obsessed with people for short periods of time. Billie Eilish seems obsessed with Justin Bieber ongoing now. But good for her, you know? It just doesn't really fit in my mind, but good for her. Oh fuck. I had a sticky note that told me which side I was supposed to shoot up in, but now I've taken all of the shit off my walls, so my walls are ugly and naked. Well, I wouldn't say my walls are ugly naked because they came green. That's another thing. Apparently, someone commented in my video, "Why is your wall green?" I'm like, I don't know. I'm renting this place. I didn't paint it green. It came like this. But I'm not against it. The wall over here is blue. So I didn't do it. It's just that way. Like most things that I have to deal with in my life. Why are you trans? I didn't do it. It's just that way. Someone save me. I'm bisexual or trisexual if you want to include the non-binaries. I don't like to say I'm pansexual because sometimes people are like, you have to identify as pansexual in order to date a trans person. And I'm like, well, what am I, a monster? You don't have to identify as anything but yourself, baby, if you want to love me. I'm no monster. I'm a human. But to each their own. I just think that's absurd. Because I'm a man, a trans man, but still a man. So if you like